Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Tom LaHue, and thank you for joining me today. This is a channel where we talk about all kinds of things related to the Enneagram and relationships and getting along with people better, knowing more about ourselves, and being more compassionate with others. In the description below is a link to my website, tomlahue.com, where you can book Enneagram coaching appointments or relationship coaching appointments, whatever I can do to help you. And also there is information on my website about the certificate programs that I offer in Enneagram coaching, relationship coaching, all kinds of stuff. So, and those will just continue to grow as my audience grows. And I do appreciate you guys taking the time to check this information out. I hope it helps you. I hope it's beneficial to you and your family. Also, thanks to my patrons. I really appreciate your support over on Patreon. I know you don't have to do it, and I really just appreciate your kindness. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about questions, asking questions. Questions are really good for us. I happened to stumble on a video of Ian Morgan Cron, and I'm sure you guys know him because he wrote the book, The Road Back to You. Took me a second. It's early in the morning. The Road Back to You, and he just wrote a new book called The Story of You or something like that. I've got it, but I don't remember the title. But anyway, fantastic writer, and he's a 4 on the Enneagram, and great information. But he got my mind working. He got me thinking about how important questions are when he talks about an incident that happened in his own life. And I was thinking about questions and how they stop you in your tracks. When I was a teenager, believe it or not, I used to use all these swear words, and it was part of just being, a high school kid. You think it's just this phase you go through. And I remember when I was working at a grocery store, and one of the other guys at work stopped me, and he said, "Hey Tom, I thought you said you were a Christian," and I said, "I am," and he just looked at me kind of puzzled, and I didn't think anything about it. I thought, oh, he just wants to know that I'm a Christian. And so he's like, I thought you said you were a Christian. Yeah, I am. Well, you don't sound like one. And then he just kind of walked away. And I remember sitting there just stunned with that, thinking, I'm an idiot. I need to quit doing this. Why do I do this? I wasn't raised to do this. And it really changed my behavior. That question. Questions can be very important to us. They can make us stop and think about something. A lot of times when somebody asks us the right question, we kind of already know the answer to it, but we've been pushing that answer down, or we don't want to acknowledge that. And so whatever reason, we've been caught up in a process of doubt or anxiety, and it's hard for us to just really come to that conclusion until somebody asks us that question. Most of the time, I think we tend to know the answer deep down. I got my notes in front of me. That's right. Sometimes I prepare notes. When you share your problem or your crisis or your challenge, whatever it is you're going through with another person, I think most of the time we're hoping that that other person will sit and listen to us and help us work through that crisis. But a lot of times it seems like people just don't have the time or the energy to want to focus on paying attention and being with us in that crisis. So sometimes what happens is people will just sort of jump to a solution. They'll just say to you, oh, that's nothing. Wait till you hear about what happened to me. Or I went through that one time, and let me tell you how I handled it. And whenever that happens, it's going to feel probably like your problem is being minimized, when they turn the camera back on themselves. And so I think a lot of times, we're not very good at listening to each other, and we're not really good at paying attention to one another. People may not want to spend the emotional energy to enter into your problem. They may kind of rush you to a quick solution, rush you to tell you more about themselves or about their crisis or about their problems. And like I said, I don't think that most of the time you're gonna feel like you're being listened to or that you have support, and you're probably gonna feel like your problem has been minimized. Sometimes all you really need is somebody to be with you in the problem. Sometimes all you need is just to know that you're not alone. What I've found is a lot of times people can figure out their own problems, but they can't really figure them out while they're in that state of crisis. When they're in that state of panic and anxiety and worry and anger and frustration, it's kind of like you move down into this lower way of thinking where everything becomes a problem and where you're agitated. And when you're in that state of mind, you tend to see more problems than are really there, and your problems seem to be a lot greater than they really are. When you're angry, you're going to see things that are going to make you more angry. And when you listen to somebody and you take the time to really enter into the problem with them and ask them good questions that allow them to really think about their problem, oftentimes it has a way of helping people out of that anxious state. And when people can relax, they are better able to solve their own problems. As you share your concerns, you begin to relax and you come into a better state of thinking. And as you feel relief that somebody is with you in this problem, you're better able to solve your own problems. Now, I wrote down some great questions. Questions that I think, some of them I thought of, some of them I just looked up. I looked up, what are great questions to ask yourself to move forward in life. And so I just kind of compiled this list, and I know it's not an exhaustive list, and probably you guys might be able to add some more great questions in the comments below. But just these are great questions that I think all of us might benefit from stopping and thinking about. So let me ask you this question. Question number 1, although I'm not going to number these because I'll never remember what the order is. But let me ask you this question. Whenever something's going on in your life and you're frustrated and you're upset and you're irritated, agitated, angry, hurt, whatever, ask yourself this question. What is my goal here? What is it I'm trying to accomplish? What is my overarching goal? And that question could really challenge you at times because you're getting upset about things probably that don't really matter, or things that seem to matter at the time. Your personality is telling you they matter. Your personality is saying, this is ridiculous. Why can't everybody understand this? But when you actually stop and ask, what is my goal here? Is my goal to win this battle? Or are you in a war that you're trying to win? Sometimes people win battles, but ultimately lose the war because they got their point across, and now everybody knows they're right, and they've proven they're right. They've corrected and criticized to the point that everybody has to admit they're right. They won the battle. But what is the overall goal? To win the argument or to win the relationship? If I were to ask you what your goal is, you probably would say something like, I want to have a wonderful relationship with all the people in my house. Okay, well, how is yelling at people and criticizing them and pointing out their mistakes and failures, how is that helping you toward that goal? Is that really moving you toward your goal? Because you're very passionate about winning this battle. And I think that's a very good question. What is my overarching goal here? Here's another question. Can you put yourself in their shoes? Can you try to see things a little bit from their perspective? And, you guys that know about the Enneagram, we ought to be better at this, realizing that somebody is not our same type, or even if they are our same type, and they're doing something different than we would do, or they're behaving in ways we wouldn't behave. It can be very helpful for us to have a compassionate side to say, I wouldn't do it the way they're doing it, but I understand the motivation that's driving them. Can I put myself in their shoes? Can I try to see the best rather than the worst? Can I see that they're being motivated? Can I try to see what their motivation is and give them the benefit of the doubt? How much longer are you going to let this crisis or this hurt or this emotion or this problem, how much longer are you going to let this thing control you? At what point will you start to release this? Much of our behaviors and functions in life are controlled by hurts from the past, anger from how we've been treated or how we perceive to have been treated, or just think about if your parent said something harsh to you when you were a young person. I remember when I was in high school, one of my teachers, and he wasn't saying anything out of line. I've probably had said this before, but he said to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, he said, if you marry Tommy, you're probably going to end up living in a van, down by the river. And that was before the van down by the river, was funny. And I remember thinking about that because my dream as a young 7 was to get in a van and just drive west. And I didn't care if I had a job. I didn't care if I did anything for a living. I just wanted to get away from where I was. I understand now how 7-ish that is, but I remember him saying that to her. I heard him say that to her. And I just remember thinking, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove him wrong. And that guy is out of my life now for 30 years, 35 years. But that statement is not out of my life. And at some point, you might realize that you're being motivated by things people said 30 years ago, by hurts and wounds that are 30 years old. And you might ask yourself the question, how much longer are you going to let this control your life or guide your life? Okay, what could you do right now to start moving in a new direction? When somebody's in that spiraling state of everything's wrong and you can't possibly understand and you don't know, and I realize we want to sit with them within that, and we want to hear them if possible. We want to give them, not minimize that problem. But ultimately, let me ask you this question. What could you do right now? Maybe you can't change the whole situation. Maybe you can't stop other people's behavior. You can't change everything. But is there something you can do to start moving in a new direction? What would those things be? Let's think about those things. Let's get out a piece of paper and a pen, and let's write down some things that we could do. We can't change people and we can't fix things, but what are some steps we could take to start moving in a new direction? Good question. Super question. Okay, here's another question. Does your daily routine reflect what you value most in life? So tell me what you value. Tell me what's important to you. Tell me what your goals are, your overall goals in life. Now, let's look at your daily routine. Does it in any way reflect the things that you say you value? If it doesn't, then there seems to be some disconnect here. Is this really what you're trying to achieve in life? Because your daily routines or your habits don't really line up with what you say you want to accomplish or where you want to be in life. Here's a question that my daughter in 8 said. She says she thinks of this all the time. If you were a hero in a movie, if your life is a movie, if it's an action movie and you're the action hero, and you're at the point in your life where, the hero, everything in the hero's life turns to garbage. Everything's falling apart. You're captured, you're tied up, the building is exploded, they've kidnapped your family, and you're in that point in the movie, like 3/4 of the way through. What would you do right now as the action hero to turn this story around? What would you do to change things, to move in that new direction? Good thought. Okay, what would come next if you were the action hero? Here's another great question. What would you do if you weren't scared? If you weren't afraid of failure? If you weren't afraid of things going wrong and everything falling apart? What would you do if you weren't scared? Because a lot of times it seems like our fears are motivating our behaviors. And it's good to be cautious. It's good to stop and think. It's good to be careful. But sometimes our fears of everything that could go wrong or of how we're going to be perceived by others could stop us in our tracks and keep us from moving forward. So a good question to just ask yourself at times is, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Do you have the right people around you? Do you have a team around you of people that bring you up, not always bring you down? Or as Kaylee, my type 9 daughter, there's a link to her YouTube channel as well, Kaylee would say is, do you have friends that aren't projects? You know the difference between friends and projects. You have both in your life. Some of you have more projects than you have friends, meaning you have people in your life that make a lot of demands, and for some reason you get some kind of benefit out of helping those people or taking care of those people, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're not peers with those people. You're kind of like a nurse and they're the patients, and that gives you some sense of, identity, being such a wonderful friend to all these people, and you might think that those people are also your friends in return. But when you really think about it, they're projects. And it's okay to have projects. Just ask yourself, how many projects can I really handle? And don't I also need some friends? And how do you go about making friends? And what would you know the difference between a friend and a project? Do you have people in your life that are for you? Do you have people in your life that cheer you on, that believe in you, that will breathe life into you? Do you have a friend, for example, that will be there when you need someone to talk to you? Do you have a friend that'll be there to support you? Do you have a friend that will move you away from sad things and help you lighten up and have a good time? Now, you need a blend. You don't just need friends that'll move you away from your problems, but you probably need at least one. You probably need at least one that'll just let you have a good time and show you a good time and will help you with that. But you also need ones that'll be there to support you, be there to help you talk things out, to listen. And all of your friends can't be projects. So do you have people around you that are the right people for you on your team? How would your life change if you could learn to accept the things in life that you have been resisting? So, pain plus resistance equals suffering. You're going to have pain in life. We're going to have problems in life. And it seems the more we resist those, the more suffering we will endure. In other words, our thinking will become very heavy, will become very weighed down. Oh my goodness, you can't believe what I'm going through. You can't believe how hard it is. You can't believe what I've lost. And your brain is focused on all of the painful things that have happened to you, on how much loss there is, how things haven't worked out, how much disappointment. And anybody who focuses on those things for long is ultimately going to feel despair, depressed, discouraged. And you can decide, I'm not saying you can't feel those things. Remember, I'm a 7. I have a problem with those feelings. I'm not saying we can't feel those things. It's just how long is appropriate for us to live in this place? How long do we want to remain here? You can be here for as long as you need to be, but let's make the mental decision that maybe I've been here long enough. And what could I do right now? What could I do right now to change things? What would I do if I wasn't afraid? And sometimes the fear is if I have hope again. If I have hope again and that hope were to be taken from me, that would be so crushing that it's better just to never hope again. Okay, so you want to be a person with no hope. Let's just be logical. You want to be a person with no faith in the future and no hope for the future. No, you don't. Of course you don't. But you would never say that out loud. And let's think about things more objectively. Okay? Let's say it out loud. How would your life change if you could begin to accept the things in life you've been resisting? Or you might say it this way. Sometimes the solution to the problem that you're facing in life is realizing that there really isn't a problem, that it's framed as a problem, it's being thought of as a problem, but maybe it's just life that has to be accepted. If you could do something, then you should do something. But a lot of things in life you can't do anything about except learn to accept and grow by acceptance. So if you can't change it, then what's keeping you resisting it? If you can't change it, then it seems that you must accept it. And how would your life change if you were more accepting of the things in life that you can't change? Okay. Do you have a general state of well-being right now? Are you in a general state of This is a good question. Are you in a general state of well-being right now? Okay, if you say, yeah, if I think about it, there's problems in my life. There's stuff that I would like to change. There's stuff that frustrates me, but am I in a state of well-being right now? Yes. Okay, well then what if you're already happy? If you're already happy, then why do you need to pursue happiness? If you're already happy, then what are you spending your energy and time on? Because you're already happy. You've already admitted you're already happy. So why do you need to go after some of these things that you think you need to go after in order to be happy when you've already stated that you're happy? I think sometimes we're already happy and we don't realize it. Some of us associate excitement with happiness. And if I'm not feeling excitement, like if this relationship isn't exciting, then there's something wrong with it. If our evening isn't exciting, then there's something that needs to be fixed. Well, you can always make things better. And if you can, maybe you should. But I think it's important for me to realize, you know what, Tom, you're already happy. Now be happy. Since you already have a general state of well-being, that means you're already happy. So be happy. And sometimes finding happiness could be that simple. In other words, how miserable are you making yourself and others trying to be happy in life? Good question. How is chasing happiness making you miserable to be around and making your life miserable? Okay, so there's just some good questions that came to my mind, things that I have been thinking about, and I want you to think about them. So as always, guys, be present to life and, don't let your personality get the best of you. Let's try to remember there's a person behind this personality, and we don't want the personality to always be making all the decisions. That's what you call being a zombie or being on autopilot. And I want to wake up and be engaged in life as it is. And ultimately, I think that's the only way to really be happy, is to be in life and present to life as it is right now. Okay, guys, take care, and I will see you in the future. All right, blessings.